I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of Nianchun, the land on which we meet today. I recognise the connection to land, waters and community and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you all so much for being here.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Janine Garner, a random person here tonight, pleased to be on the street. No, in all seriousness, I have literally flown up from Sydney to be part of tonight. I will be rushing off to get a plane back, but I wouldn't have missed today for the world. Working closely with these two incredible women over the last couple of years, they are a testament to the change that you can create for yourself when you're brave enough to do the work that needs to be done, when you're brave enough to ask for help, and when you're brave enough to actually put yourself massively outside of your comfort zone to do things that the majority of us would find bloody scary. And so my first question really is, well, first off, I think let's raise a glass.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm going to do a virtual one. Let's raise a glass and just congratulate in your own way the amazingness of Nicky and Ness. So, in the last 12 months, you have researched and written a book. You've had a book published. You have already, I think, sailed out of your first lot friend, and you've done a TED Talk. TEDx Talk. I don't care, we can call it TED. I don't know, there's TEDx people here. Alright, the reality is, a lot of people have dreams of writing books. A lot of people have dreams of doing a TEDx Talk and a TED Talk. You've done it. I'm curious, what have you learned about yourselves over the last 12 months?
I'll kick off, yes? That is such a good question, and again, thank you so much everybody for being here. This is such a milestone for Ness and I, and we really appreciate everyone that's in this room. Through this journey, as you know, our book is called Healthy Hustle, and thank you. And the TEDx talk was called The Art of Healthy Hustle. I think the biggest thing that I have learned is the importance of healthy hustle. This isn't something that you arrive at and you never have to think about again. This is something that is an ongoing evolution in our lives, in our businesses. You know, at the peak of getting ready for TEDx, I'm going to be really transparent, of TEDx and writing the book, we'd written it, we were in the middle of publishing, and there's a lot of pressures around that, and the hustle is real. And I found myself in hospital with chest pains getting tested, and the irony was not lost on us. Jules was like, Nicky, you know you're writing a book about healthy hustle. I'm looking at you on a hospital bed right now, getting ECGs and whatever. It's like, something doesn't quite work, but that's the reality. Even sharing that, there's vulnerability in that, but that's the reality. By the way, I'm fine and everything was fine, and it was just that I was hustling too hard. So being able to literally look at what's in the book and use the principles and the reminders and understand things like when we're getting addicted to our work, when we're in busy instead of living, when we're in defeat instead of success, flow, you know, like it's an evolution. So that has been the biggest thing. Let's take the pressure off ourselves. Let's start getting curious about where we're at, be kinder, and realize that this isn't a one and done. It ain't a checklist.
What about you, Ness? I don't know if that's working, actually. What have you learned about yourself? While I'm trying to get the microphone.
That's interesting. Okay.
Kudos to you, Nicky, because I know that as your business partner, watching you, be so enthusiastic about getting this book out into the world and getting your message out into the world through your TEDx talk and our IP and our message. There definitely were times where it was like, maybe take tomorrow off. But I think for me, what I learned, because for those of you who have read the foreword of the book, Nicky is the pen of the book, and I've contributed through the case studies and the editing and all the other stuff that comes and everything. So, but really for Nicky, this was a lifelong dream. So it's been lovely to be able to support you to be an author. And I think what I learned from myself was play to strengths. So for a little while there, I felt like a bit of a fraud with my name on the front going, I didn't write it. And then I think my journey has been about realising that we all have strengths to bring to the table, and it's about owning that and really saying, actually, I'm a huge contributor to this. This is our IP, this is our life, our message. This is what we love doing. And really stepping into that, and then of course just trying on, when the detailed stuff comes, I'm shining. So it's really leaning into appreciating and letting go of any thinking of imposter syndrome and just backing yourself. That was my message for this year.
Well, I think what you've both shown is that we can't be successful on our own. That particularly in this crazy world that we are currently living in, that piece about playing to strengths is so critical. And I can distinctly remember sitting here in Brisbane, January this year. I can't quite work, I still lost my sense of direction, I've got no idea where I am, but we were somewhere nearby. And we were talking about this dream of writing a book, and we scoped it out, and I challenged you to write it. And I'm curious, now that you have written it, why this book and why now? Why is this such an important message for so many of us right now?
Like I said in my TEDx talk on the weekend, hustling hard is costing lives. That's the reality. Worst case is it is actually costing lives. The statistics about doctors' visits because of chronic stress. More than 9 in 10 employees are experiencing chronic stress at work. This is all in the research that we did in the book. So that's at worst. But even at best, even if you're not on your way to burnout, or you're not, the person that is having those doctor's visits, the reality is that it is chaos. It is hectic. Everyone is exhausted, stuck in a whirlwind and on Juggle Street. And it is amazing. Even just on Sunday, I did the TEDx talk on this, and I have had so many people reach out that were there on LinkedIn saying, I resonate with that. I know how that feels. I'm that person in my own way. So this is really important because the statistics are not getting better, they're increasing. How can we increase from 94% doctor's visits to chronic stress, and it affects, and what I love about this room is that this room is filled with the visionary leaders, the true change agents. This is our duty of care. If not us, who? Really? Because we are leaders, we have teams, we have families, we're a part of communities. And I don't mean to be the negative Nelly about this, but this is the reality. We have to sit up straight and pay attention. So this is why this book matters right now.
I love that, absolutely. High five to that one. And I'm with you, right? It's each of us individually have got to start really owning who we are being every single day, and who it is that we want to become. And if we can't own that stuff for ourselves, how can we possibly inspire the people around us to step up? Our children, our team, our community. And this piece that you talk about, this nirvana around healthy hustle, I'm really curious about. So I remember the debate when you were like, Janine, I want to call this healthy hustle. I'm like, healthy hustle? And it just feels wrong to me. Did anyone else here think about it? It just felt weird. What, hustle and healthy? So you say the key is to finding the sweet spot between taking enough action and go-getting to move forward at a steady pace, but not so much that it becomes all-consuming and sucks the life out of you. It sounds like a Goldilocks story to me. This sweet spot is what you call healthy hustle. Can you tell us more what you mean by that term, healthy hustle?
Well, we all know that there is some amount of hustle that's needed, because we can't be business owners or leaders in business without having that get up and go. And I think that that's something that I notice in all the leaders that are in my world, that there's a desire to make a difference. And in that desire to make a difference, we often want to strive to achieve the best we possibly can. But what we see is when people get so stuck in that place, they forget that work and business is there to be able to encourage you to enjoy your life. And I think that sometimes we can get so focused on those goals around how am I going to make more money or how am I going to achieve these goals, and forget the most important people in our world. The most important people in our world are those that we love. The ones at home, the reason why we go into business or the reason why we have a career. And if we just focused on hustle and getting results without being healthy about it, then we could wake up and those people aren't in our worlds anymore. So the sweet spot, and we acknowledge there are obviously times in life and business and world that, you know, maybe you've got to work a bit harder and hustle harder, but you've got to come back to healthy. You've got to come back to you and making sure that you're filling your cup. You know, we both have holidays booked next week because we know this has been a massive stretch for us, to a lot of hours, a lot of work, but there's always that opportunity to be able to say, and now it's our time. And, you know, as business owners, we often remind ourselves, I think we're the ones setting the deadline on this, so we could probably push that back a little bit. Like, we're not in life and death situations in our business, at least. So therefore, I think we've really got to stop and take that step back and say, how does what I do in my work fulfill what I want to achieve in my world? And when we can keep those two in mind, hand in hand, then we're more likely to be able to prioritise the things outside of work that matter just as much as inside.
Love that. You talk in the book about identifying the three challenges that you see most business owners facing and their dream of what they're wanting to become. Can you just quickly outline on the back of, because this is all backed up with your research, right? What you're seeing day after day, time after time, as being those key problems, and what your dream is to help them become.
Definitely. So what's really cool about this is, obviously Ness and I have a lot of experience, well, not obviously, we have a lot of experience obviously to us, and let me tell you, we've got lots of experience, I think it's like 50 years combined, is that good? Lots of experience, but what that means is that we've observed lots of patterns of behaviour in corporate, in small business. What's really cool about this is it's not just our opinion or observation, it is backed up by the statistics. And what we see is that business owners and leaders, they're stuck in this place of business chaos. The business feels chaotic. They're on juggle street, being pulled in a million different directions, being all things to all people, despite, I can see the nods, and they're like, yes, despite having a team. And they're stuck in busy trap, on their way, if not already at burnout or entrepreneurial addiction, addicted to the work. They're the key problems that we see. But the work that we do and what we know, and we've got clients in the room that are experiencing this, you can move from business chaos to a place of smart growth, leveraging smart growth strategies. We want you to get off juggle street and instead have peak performance by implementing these peak performance principles in the business. And get off busy trap, that's enough. We want to move to a place of time freedom where you feel like you have got your life back and you don't end up resenting your business is thriving, your team are thriving, and you are thriving. You are thriving equally, which is so important.
Love that. So shortly I'll be opening up for any questions, so get your questions at the ready. Before we do, Vanessa, what is your wish for this book? If there was one wish that you would hope that whoever picks up this book, that it would have in terms of impact or pass on ability, what is the wish?
Well, my wish is as simple as coming back to that place where you matter just as much as the work that you do. And I wish that people who felt trapped and felt that their success has been achieved because of what's happened up until now could realise that things could be different by following a different path. Because I think the fear that sometimes we have is, what happens if I let go of hustle? Does that mean success goes? And what we're here to say is, no, it's not. So my wish is that people read the book, clearly. Don't just have it on your bookshelf, actually read it. And then apply the principles, because what we know is that the clients that we work with, our own experiences, the businesses that we work with, when they apply these principles, they really do move into a place of healthy hustle. And I think that matters so much as leaders, because it's not just about us, even though we're the number one important people. Often leaders put others in front of ourselves. So it's actually for the people in our lives. It's for our children or our nieces or nephews, our family, and it's also to be the role models in our business so that we engage and work with people who also love to come to work and still find a way to be hustling but in a healthy way. So we're the role models.
Fabulous. So you are going to be able to grab a copy of this book tonight. I think the girls have given you access to it for all of $20. That's a ridiculous price, buy 5. But before we sort of wrap up and keep going or come to your questions, I'd love to have a chat with one of your clients. You didn't necessarily know I was going to do this. One of the stories in this book is this wonderful gentleman, James. Poor guy, he's like, oh my God, I did check with him. Yeah, I haven't put in that. You can take a seat. I'll sit here. I haven't put in that too much on the spot. I did check. So are you going to be okay with doing this? So James's stories in the book. James, before you started working with Nicky and Ness, how would you describe where you were at in terms of your business, in your life, how you were leading? How would you describe James 1.0?
I have to be really honest, because my wife's standing there. Yeah, let's see if I can stay the script here. James 1.0 was still a version of James that my wife believed in. So she's forever been my number one supporter, and even 1.0 wouldn't have survived without that. I had what I would call dreams of what I wanted to achieve, but no obvious way to get there. So engaging with Nicky and Ness helped me build that plan out on what it was that I wanted the most, and it was not to have a business that was all-consuming and took my life away fundamentally. I've got 3 kids. Having the ability to spend time with them was a critical part for why I was building the business, but it wasn't what I was getting. I talk about in the book, or Nicky and Ness talk about in the book, that my story was very much take the phone to the kitchen table every night, and it spent its time there with me because I was worried about what that next ding would be that might need my attention to deal with whatever it was. And the reality was it wasn't as serious as I thought in most cases, but it took all my attention.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite, you had the dream, but business was taking over. How many of us have felt like that, where you just feel like you're putting all the hours, every moment that is available into your business, working hard because you've got the dream and the vision? Working with Nicky and Ness, what are a couple of the key things that have changed for you?
Well, firstly, not taking my phone to the kitchen table for dinner overnight. That was a big win. One of my key takeaways was that it was okay to celebrate. I was very good at setting goals and achieving them, but immediately going, that's done, next goal, keep pressing. And being able to stop and celebrate with the whole family and talk about what it took to achieve that and what it means for the business, what it means for us. There's a lot of things that I could talk to here now. That's probably one of the key takeaways. Stop and celebrate. The win is the win. But what was happening, and Nicky, this was something that Nicky observed early on, was that I got to the end of the year and I said, what a crappy year. And this was after years where we had 3 years running where our revenue doubled every year. And I wasn't celebrating that. I wasn't looking back and going, what an achievement. I was just nose to the grindstone and doing the unhealthy hustle version of just reset, go again, no rest, keep going.
So how old are your children?
16, 14 and 13.
Awesome. What do you think they'd say about Dad version 2.0 now?
I don't want to ask my eldest daughter at the moment because I'm teaching her how to drive at the minute.
What's your hope that they've seen then in terms of what it takes to run a business and a successful business as a family man?
I had to read.
Yes.
So, obviously 3 children, teenagers. Our eldest recently did an event at school where she had to attend a 3-day session as running a business in the city, took herself there. She came home and talked to her dad about how to run a business well. The things she has done in that business to improve it. They did a 10-year time frame. But she comes home and says, Dad, these are the things I've learned from you. These are the things I've implemented because of you. So, and in answer to your question, he's actually home. He would often come home at 10 o'clock at night, or he would come home and he'd sit on the computer. But now, picks the kids up from school. Never did that until starting with Nicky and Ness. A lot has changed. And
I think I lost sight for what my business was there to do. I made my own job, was what I made, and I was a slave. I was a slave to it. There's still a lot of pressure. That doesn't go away, but it doesn't need every waking hour of my attention anymore. I'm building a great team. I've got you guys working with my team to help lift, rising tide lifts all ships. And so I've now got flexibility to take a Friday off and head out to the go-karting track with my middle child and head away for a race weekend, wherever that may be. I'm often taking weekends off to head away with one of the girls, go away camping. We're heading away to Germany in April next year. These are the things that I wanted the business to facilitate or provide for us as a family. And now I've done it, yeah. There's still a lot of work to do.
There always is, but that's the joy, I'm going to say joy, of running our own businesses, right? Who do you think should read this book?
My team's reading the book at the moment, so I don't think anyone should be exempt from reading the book. I think that there's lessons in there for regardless of whether you're a business owner or you're an employee. I think there's something that anyone can take out of that book.
That's great. Please give a round of applause to James. Does anyone have any questions for these 2 incredible women? Anyone got any questions? They can be as cheeky as you want them to be.
No, I need this in his sequel. Yes.
Definitely yes.
You can't just have one book, Donna, you've got to have questions. I know you don't need a microphone.
No, I've got a pretty good inside outside voice. More of a comment that someone told me once, be careful writing a book because someone will say to you at some point, where's the second one? And just so you know, I just published my 15th. So there you go.
They won't hold good though.
The first 8 was shit.
Any other questions? I'm going to come to you. Don't be afraid of the microphone. microphone. It can be your friend.
I'm so excited to read the book. I haven't yet, but I wanted to ask you how much of the healthy hustle is down to intuition as opposed to sort of planned, diary type things.
Love that question. I'll jump in first. Thank you, Leah. That's a really, really awesome question. And I think we have to understand and know ourselves to know if it's intuition or bad habits. We have to we all have patterns of behaviour that have been embedded. For me, it was working in corporate, it was expectations I placed on myself. We all have these different experiences, values, beliefs that create the action that we take and the habits and behaviours. So I think it's a delicate mix. It's absolutely a combination of both. The structure and knowing the strategies like micro moments. Who here knows micro moments? Yes. Yes. So we have to have the strategies and the structure, and we have to get to know what is uniquely right for me to be able to listen to our intuition. Because sometimes it's a period, I see so much nodding, this is amazing. Sometimes it's a period of getting rid of all the crap to get to know what actually is right for me and not what we think because we see somebody else. Like even Ness and I, our working hours and times are different because we are based on what is uniquely right for me.
I think the only other thing I would add to that, and this is the reason why I think reading a book like this is going to help you, is there could be patterns that you fall into that you're not aware of. So people around you might see entrepreneurial addiction, for example, and until you become self-aware of that, you don't realise that's a pattern you need to break. So I think the benefit of being able to be reflective about what you're reading and taking in is to be able to go, oh, okay, my intuition's telling me I should work harder, but maybe that's not the case.
And by the way, we have the 6 signs of entrepreneurial addiction outlined in the book, so if you're wondering what this is about.
I was ticking them on the plane up yesterday. Tick, tick, tick. Glad I'm reading this book. Other questions? Fabulous.
Hello. Fellow TEDx speaker, by the way.
Check it out on YouTube. I have a question. Something that you mentioned, Nicky, in your TEDx talk is the fact that you were diagnosed with a neurodivergent brain at a much later age than a typical person might be diagnosed. I'm wondering, what was the aftermath of that for you, business-wise, personally, all of the above?
Amazing question, thank you. It was a much later age, because I am at a much later age now, yes. And proud of it. Thank you, Serena, that's such a good question. So the biggest impact is that I was kind to myself, and I realised that a part of my initial problem, because I did reach burnout and multiple kind of patterns, actually repeat patterns of pushing too hard, is that I was trying to fit into the norm ways of working. Whether we have neurodivergent brains or not, find what works for you. Now, I appreciate sometimes that's challenging if you are a leader in a corporate environment, or you're not the boss and you can't set your hours, or you are the boss but you have to show up. There are still opportunities for you to find what works best for you. It could be time of day, it could be type of work, it could be what tasks you do at different times. Please make sure, can everyone just make a promise here today? Can everybody please start taking a lunch break? It could be half an hour. And the fact that there's a ripple of giggle in the room, you know I'm right. Yes? Just half an hour even. But what are you doing that? So I think we all can take a lesson from this to be kind to ourselves and get curious. Any more questions? Okay, final question. TEDx co-director here.
Firstly, Nicky and Ness, congratulations. What an amazing achievement. I think sometimes the burnout and the unhealthy hustle can come from this inability to switch off from work, right? Do you have any strategies for that? Yes, I do. Came to the right place.
So the question was the inability to switch off. That sometimes it's really hard. How many of us have felt that, where you're really busy and it's just hard to switch off? So Montana was asking the question, of Nicky and Ness is if there were any strategies that they can share about how to switch off after a crazy day at work when you've got that busy mind of ideas.
It's challenging. It really can be challenging. I think that for me anyway, it's around understanding what matters equally as importantly as work. So what are the things that are really important to me outside of work? And for me, I got a lesson really early on in my business around being fully present for my children particularly. I think it's also about, if I could share the story of that. So I was starting my business and like every business owner thinking you've got to work really, really hard. And I share care of my kids, my son's here tonight. And so they would come over every second week, and I remember it was school holidays and I was just busily at my computer working away, and my daughter, who would have been in primary school at the time, walked up behind me and said, "Mum, can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Yes, but I'm very busy, so make it quick." And I didn't turn around, I didn't make eye contact, and she just said, "If Cameron or I or Nan died, would you come to take time off work to come to the funeral?"
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
That was a big lesson to learn. I'm so grateful she had the courage to say that to me, because what that meant is I put boundaries in place. I wasn't perfect at it, but it was a massive slap in the face to say, you can choose how you run this business now, and it's on me. So for me, I think it's about what are you connecting to outside of work that matters. And then there's 100 strategies to get there, but really in that moment, I knew that hustling hard was going to be a way of pushing away, this beautiful time that I had with my young children at the time.
It's interesting, isn't it, how we build and run businesses. So we choose to leave work to set up our own thing, as you were sharing, James. Without even thinking about it, we become the very thing that we've left. That we build businesses based on whoever decided business needed to be run in that way. But there's no rules. It's the rules that we create for ourselves. And this is about business and life by design. And this is why I think this book is so perfect, because now is the time to change that paradigm about what rules are you setting for yourself. Because anything is possible. It absolutely is, but often for so many of us, it's rewiring our unconscious belief systems about what it means to run a business. And that's part of the challenge. Your parting words so as I said, in a minute there's going to be a rush, isn't there, to buy books?
Some people already have.
I don't care, you can buy another one. Like seriously, blood, sweat and tears and lots of SOS calls with me have resulted in this. So we can buy extra copies, give them to fellow business owners, fellow TEDx talkers that you think could benefit from reading this. That's how you can pass on this message. That's how collectively we can help change what it means to run a business. So I'm expecting a big queue, right? And also I want a photo op of everyone holding books. Yeah, there is no resistance. I'm locking the door. No one will leave. What is your parting message for your friends, colleagues, supporters here?
I would like to remind us all that if we are lucky enough to live to 80, we have about 4,000 weeks on this earth. So how should we live them best? By allowing life to pass us by in a crazy cycle of juggling, busy and chaos? Or will you make conscious decisions about how you hustle in an unhealthy or healthy way? Thank you, James and Danielle, for sharing. And we all have these experiences, whether it doesn't have to be about burnout, but there is so much nodding and agreement, and we can create the change. If every single person in this room does one thing each, imagine what ripple effect that will create. We have one precious life. How will you live it best?
Yes, you can.
I can't top that, but what I can say is this incredible woman has, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of what we've been able to create together. So I really, really know and trust that anyone who reads this message, there will be a shift, because you can't unlearn once you've already learned through the wise words. You can't unlearn things. So make a difference in your life.